Welcome everybody back to Robbs MetalWorks. We are here at Backstage live in the Warehouse District in the Alamo City. It brings me great pleasure to welcome back a legend, the man, Mr. Phil ANSELMO, to Robbs MetalWorks. Phil, how are you doing?
Doing good, sir.
It's great to see you, my friend. Great to have you in great spirits. Thank you for talking with me and the fellas off camera about football and fighting and all these great things that us guys like to talk about. But I want to focus today a little bit about what's going to be happening later on this year. Many people out there know about your record label, HouseCore Records, but now you're about to unveil something totally new, the HouseCore Horror Film Festival in October in Austin. I hear you're quite the, of course, you're quite the horror fan, but I also hear you have quite a collection at the casa.
Mi casa, friggin' gigantic collection. It's massive. And like my music, I like to delve into the underbelly of filmmaking and underground films and independent films. You know, my collection ranges from the first Frankenstein, which was shot in black and white, 1900-something, Thomas Edison shit, all the way to, you know, I've got modern stuff, but it's pretty varied when it comes to modern horror, which is, you know, I can give or take. Too many remakes, I'll say that, but I am a horror freak, so yeah.
What about some of these prequels that are coming out now? No more sequels, prequels.
Honestly, the best one I saw was and it bugs me. One thing bugs me about it is the title, The Thing, because it was a fucking prequel. If you knew the story, they really should have said The Thing, the prequel, just for the massive fans of what John Carpenter brought to The Thing, you know, that particular story, which is all really HP Lovecraft. True.
Obviously, it seems that there's many horror fans out there, and many of them are really becoming more kind of in tune with the art of horror, not just the flabbergasting guts and gore. What do you really think, in your opinion, intrigues fans, movie fans about the horror genre?
Well, for me, I just grew up adoring it. It was just something I needed in my life. And when I grew up with, obviously the Twilight Zones, the Outer Limits, the Boris Karloff thrillers to a certain extent, but then really Night Gallery was one of my favorite movies. I mean, yes, they did a full-length movie, but obviously came back with a television series, and I would beg my mother, can I please watch Night Gallery tonight? So, plus in New Orleans, they always had a Saturday creature feature in the afternoon, and then the night horror, whatever, with the horror host, the Guru, who would come out and do his little shtick, who ended up being the weatherman later on for the New Orleans local weather. But when I was a kid, he was the horror host, and they would show a lot of all kind of fucking films, ranging from black and white to color or whatnot of the time. I'm talking the 70s. And then on Sunday, they had this thing called the Sunday Morning Movie. Now, that was awesome, because once all the shit-heel church programs were done, they would come on and they would show movies in the middle of the morning, like How Awful About Alan, War of the Gargantuas, Attack of the Crab Monsters, to fucking Attack of the Mushroom People, that shit spawned in me a love that I can never backtrack on. So anyway, I pursued it. And you brought up an interesting thing where, not everything's blood and guts, but I think that in the 80s and 90s, there was a period where, your mid-teens, whatnot, where you're dying just to see gore. the more gore, the better, and there's your film. Well, these days, when you mention the art of horror, there's a couple names that come to mind. Obviously, Mario Bava really brought such atmosphere, lighting, atmosphere and lighting alone in itself is an art. And it's a lot of his shots, his camera angles and shots that he would use were beautiful. They're beautiful to look at, surreal and beautiful. And you look at wide bands, extreme death metal, black metal bands or whatnot, will put similar looking art on the cover of their records and stuff like that. There's a reason for that, it sticks in the mind. So, but also, that as far as art goes, in the 90s, there's a guy named George Butgerite who we can hopefully expect to be down here at the Horror Fest. But fucking Butgerite, one of my favorites, and he's an artist. Those are art films, the necromantic movies that he did, and Shram, and then later on, he put out Corpse Fucking Art, which, really explains the process of how they invented their corpses and did such a graphically real job. Great artist. So I'm very hip to the fact that horror is art, and we go through phases in life, and then, hopefully later on down the road, once you're an aficionado and your collection's big enough, you can really kind of reflect. If you go back to the old films, you go back and reflect, and it's like, man, this is beautiful, instead of just watching the movie alone, or straight up just getting a story, digesting it, and saying, okay, I watched a horror movie. Even what John Carpenter, we were talking about it earlier, what he did with The Thing. You think of the 50s version, and then what John Carpenter did. I saw that in the movie theater as a youngster. I don't think anybody was prepared for that. It was long before CGI, the fucking air pumps and the hoses and shit like that they use. It's fucking brilliant, man. So, obviously I could talk about this for a while. So.
I remember the head with the spider legs. It came out the guy. That was pretty freaky and cool.
It's all Lovecraftian fucking horror that, thank goodness for HP Lovecraft, that is, and not the sauce that they still have in England, HP sauce.
Let's talk about the HouseCore Horror Film Festival. It's happening in Austin in October. People out there, be sure to make plans to attend. Lots of great things going on. How did the idea for the film festival come about? Of course, because of your passion, but I know you're also working with Corey Mitchell. How did you guys muster up, the engine to make this really happen for everybody?
I think it's Corey. I think Corey Mitchell came in, and he's obviously been down to the house. We've interviewed each other, getting to know each other, him, this and that, talking about the book and whatnot. And he looks around my bedroom, looks around my house, and he's like, Jesus Christ, dude, you have got a fucking library here. So it's like, let's do this, let's do this film fest, let's do this horror fest. And all I say is, as long as I get to pick out the movies, great, let's do it. You handle the rest of this damn thing. Let me handle the movies. And right now we're trying to get the licensing for several films. So, we'll see what we get. Right now it's still kind of in the early phases, and there's probably 20 different meetings before anything is set in concrete. And I will say, to Corey, you better get on your ass, and he's standing right behind you. You better talk to Jimmy today to lock in EHG Crowbar. You better, because they're all willing to do it. Down, everybody. We just got to give them a price and whatnot, and as far as other bands go, we'll talk about that later.
Let's now, obviously, we're talking about this event. People are already excited about it 10 months in advance. Obviously, I think a lot of people are going to think that this is going to be a really exciting new thing for HouseCore. If it is indeed as successful as we anticipate, would you like to do more film festivals across the country?
Well, just like you said, you know, let's wait and not count the chickens before they're hatched. You know, really, I just want this thing to be fun. I want this to be a thing for people who love underground music, love horror films, to come out and have a great time during the Halloween season. And we'll see what happens, and then we'll go from there. And you know, if it is a success, absolutely, I would love to pursue, make it a once a year thing, obviously, you know, so we'll see.
Also, you mentioned a few key names. You're going to have some special people there that the fans can meet. I heard Paul Booth might show up or is going to be there.
I haven't had a confirmation from Paul Booth unless you have, Corey.
I have not talked to him yet.
But, you know, chances are he's going to want to be. He used to come down to do the House of Shock every year. So I would love to have Paul, and I guess I better reach out to him ASAP.
Well, you'd already told me that he was going to do it. We were talking about it.
Yeah, but we just can't take it for granted. We just got to, like, say, yeah, we got to, you know, make sure he's locked in. And that goes for any of the other guests as well. And I've been on Bill Mosley's ass, and he won't give me a straight answer, old Chop Top. But he's always hounding me to do some music stuff together. I said, well, here's your big fucking chance now. There, goddammit. I'll get up on stage and beat on a goddamn drum and scream in a microphone. Let's do it. Having Chop Top there would be great. And but really, I'm super excited about having George Butkerite. I can't wait to meet the guy, talk to him, and I'd like to really hear what he's up to next. I hope he's out to mortify the public like he did with necromantic films. I really do. Who else, Corey?
Van Bever.
Great. Van Bever. Now, there's a controversial name right there. Bring him on. Van Bever's a very talented filmmaker, a very good friend of mine, very close friend of mine, and I count on him to be at his best.
What about, I've always kind of dug the work that a lot of the special effects and artistic people kind of do, people like Rick Baker, stuff like that. Do you want to get maybe some of those special effects people down here too?
It would be great, you know. I mean, without these guys that create, you know, the visuals that we all adore as horror fans, you know, they're such a big part of the machine. Yes, I would love to have them, of course.
Now, also, you also were talking about there being music at this film festival. That's obviously something new, and then throwing into a traditional film festival. That's really cool. Obviously, because of your background, these bands are going to be heavy. You mentioned some of the things that you do that are going to be part of this film festival. Any other bands? You want to invite Portal down to come play?
Yes. This is an open invitation to Portal. Portal, Vexavad. I know it comes out next month, and I want to thank you guys personally for allowing me to own this awesome piece of art ahead of time. And anything I can do for Portal, I all they have to do is ask. I think they are fucking the next link in the chain of what would be known as, I guess, death metal. They've taken it and raised the bar and then shattered the bar and then raised it again. And I don't think a band since Morbid Angel or Suffocation or anything like that can come close to the extremities that Portal pulls off, and their unorthodox approach, not just to music, but the lyrical content as well. I brought up HP Lovecraft like 15 times so far, but they are so Lovecraftian. Right now, I guess I'm going through like my third phase of rereading all of the old Lovecraft stories, and it's like, my God, I don't know, I bristle at the thought in a good way. You know, it's like, I'd love to have Portal. There's a lot of New Orleans bands I'd love to have. And a handful of other bands that until we get locked in, then fine. Shit, if you want to go further, I wouldn't mind having Gore, figuring they fit the bill. I wouldn't mind having Glenn Danzig have his own goddamn fucking room and let him do what the fuck he wants, and out with a stage and all, you know, fucking let him do what he wants, you know. And Glenn, I've known from since the early 90s, always a dynamite guy, so fucking complete gentleman, knows his shit very well, into what he does, and I've got utmost respect for him. So all this is hypothetical in a weird way, but maybe not so hypothetical. We'll see.
I think all the smart people out there would really dive in and really try to be a part of this thing, because I anticipated it to be something really special.
And then, like you mentioned, you know, as far as bringing bands into a horror fest, if it's my horror fest, it's like they go so hand in hand with me, you know, because I can tell almost the same exact stories of growing up and how music grabbed hold of me and how, you know, that was an extreme passion. You know, when I watch horror films, I never sit there and I think to myself, I want to direct a horror film. I've never thought that. It's more like, give me the content and let me enjoy it, you know. But as far as music goes, I've always wanted to grab that by the throat and fucking go. Well, I've lived that particular dream, but I think they go very well together, you know. Heavy music dedicated to not so pleasant things, you know. I see a pattern here.
The biggest and the coolest. Thank you, Philip, for everything. Remember, everyone out there watching this interview, you saw the man, Mr. Phil ANSELMO. I don't need to say anything else. You saw him right here on Robbs MetalWorks.